Good evening, everybody. Some of you have probably heard me speak before, but my name is Satnaam Singh Mago. This is my third time speaking at a Moms Demand Action event. I've also spoken at countless interfaith things at my Secret Water in Palatine. And I would say this is an honor in a tragic way. So thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. But I hope that this is the last speech I ever have to give. And I think that those sentiments, those echo with all of us. I myself am not wearing a ribbon, but my mom is. So while I'm here, my grandfather, when I was 3 months old, he was gunned down in an act of robbery. And I read the police report, and I read that my grandmother was hit with the axe of the gun. She's still alive today, 90 years old. That happened 35 years ago. And so I never actually met my grandfather, but I was obviously shaped by this incident. Whether it was conscious or not, I understood certain things. I understood that for 20 years, my mother and my grandmother would not be able to talk about it. And so what I would know about my grandfather, it would be little snippets. So I was robbed of that. And what I also know is how much we talk about the guns, and we talk about this entire room. Everybody wants something to happen. But part of the reason why nothing ever happens is how are we voting? And I don't want to completely make this political, but they made it political, okay? And we have to remember that we don't get anything done if we don't actually attack the politics of gun violence. So why are our kids able to die? Why are they dying? And it's simple. President Trump in 2016 accepted $70 million from the NRA, all right? Who is writing those policies? Anybody who actually watched Dark Waters and you look at who was writing the policies on who's poisoning our water, DuPont, a chemical company that was actually poisoning our waters, is the one that is actually writing the policy for that. Why is that the case? Because they donate to political campaigns. What do we need to do? We need to get rid of Citizens United. And the problem is that once we do that, then we have to confront certain ugliness. We have to confront the fact that we are a rogue state. We have 393 million guns, 330 million people. Yemen is number 2 on that list, 28 million people with 15 million guns. Canada is number 3 on that list with 37 million people and 12 million guns. The next country is Serbia with 2 million guns, and most countries have about 100 or 500 guns max. So we are a rogue state. It's very uncomfortable for us to actually look at it from that perspective. We are placing the profits that the NRA can make ahead of human lives. A child in America that simply has a gun in their house is 11 times more likely to die than a child in a developing country that's not engaged in war. That should startle you. A child in America is 11 times more likely to die because of a gun than a child in Haiti. Now, this is not to disregard Haiti or their humanity or anything, but how can the richest country in the history of the world say, we can't do this? And we can't do this because, I hate to say it, we do not have a democracy, we have an oligarchy. So what do we do then? Do we actually look at politicians based on the substance of what they are saying? Or do we look at politicians based on, do I want to have a beer with that politician? Which is great. I would love to have a beer with any politician, and I would love to have that levity that provides, and that peace of mind that they can be my neighbor. You know, I just recently watched the Fred Rogers movie. And one question that I ask myself is, sorry, I know we're in a church, not what would Jesus do, but what would Fred Rogers do? Because ultimately, I think that one thing that people didn't understand was he was a calm, collected, patient man who was very anxious to get to the surface your insecurities and to make it okay to talk about it. It is okay. Anything that is, Mr. Rogers, direct quote, anything that is mentionable is manageable. However, if your primary focus is not human lives, your primary focus is the money that is going to line your pockets, then you're worshiping the god of banks. That's who you're worshiping. And just understand that. And understand that all of these really real issues of climate change or mental health issues or whatever, we have 70% of the country that is for Medicare for all. When they actually talk about the issues and they don't actually talk about the buzzwords that cause us to delve into our political tribes, they're actually, this is bipartisan. There's bipartisan support for getting money out of politics. I have no problem with people having difference of opinions. I have a huge problem with the corporations writing our regulations, writing our laws. And finally, when we actually look at the Second Amendment, what are we actually doing by not adding regulation? It literally says, in order to maintain a well-regulated militia, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Why are we so scared to actually attack the Second Amendment? They're not actually supporting the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was in order to make sure that our country was not going to be run by King George. Like, we have to understand this concept. We also have to understand that the types of guns they were talking about in the late 1800s were muskets that would take 2 minutes between reload. The types of guns we are talking about, they would have considered weapons of mass destruction. God bless you all.